Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
Feeling awesome, man. Feeling awesome. Got my little flannel going.
Yeah,
it's
looking
fall.
awesome. Look
yeah,
at that.
dude. You know what, man? Andrea bugs me to get flannels all the time, and
Really?
yeah, she loves that. She loves the hippie stuff, and I think she's converting me, dude.
There you go.
Honest.
Yeah, man. I mean, you already have an Airstream, solar powered, and you're ready to be a hippie on the road if you want.
I think so. I just need to learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
I want to sit around the campfire and sing, but not real songs, like the songs I make up in my house.
There you go.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Today is day 23 of phase 1, 75 hard. It's all the 75 hard challenges plus a 5-minute cold shower every day.
Yep.
As well as 10 minutes of visualization, which I've really enjoyed. Believe it or not, before this challenge, I've never have spent time on visualization. Maybe on just moments, but never like, all right, set my timer, 10 minutes. I'm going to sit here and visualize. But now I'll do it more of a meditative style of just closing my eyes or sit in front of my vision board and look at everything and think of things. It's been fun. So,
man, that is so interesting because we're switching. Because for years, Andrea and I had the vision board in our house with the Airstream and the travel, and we looked at it all the time. And now, I'll be honest with everything that's happened, I've quit visualizing so much of the future, and It's funny because I spend much more time trying to be extremely present right now.
mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, fuck, I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know what stupid rule. I just don't know. So I'm just going to do this moment. But it's fun to do both.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. With this challenge, it's just really put me in this just highly disciplined lifestyle right now.
Where do you find your visualization going more? Like personal growth? Is it business stuff? Where's your mind wandering right now?
It goes more towards feelings. I'll see myself dressed in a certain way, smiling, laughing, cheering. I've envisioned a lot of one of my childhood dreams, and which is still on my vision board, of being able to take my entire side of my dad's side of the family and my mother's side of the family on an all expenses paid trip.
Love it.
So I'd love to take the Abuzalam family, my dad and his brothers, my uncles and my one aunt, and some of the cousins to the Bahamas, Atlantis, Paradise Island. So I envisioned that, because on that side of the family, there were, they came from war, they lived next to a refugee camp all their life. So money is so, their love language is gifts, all of them.
Yeah.
Like if I bought my father a BMW, that would mean more to him than if I got us a 2-week trip, father and son trip, traveling the world or something. I know that a lot of that, and crazy enough, I feel like doing something like that could bring a lot of healing to the family, of being like, hey, this is paid, tickets and hotels are paid for, see you guys there. That I know a lot of that. So I've been envisioning a lot of that on both sides, on my mom's side of the family too, and then just feeling more feeling. I've envisioned a dinner with our guy Kurt Richardson.
Yeah.
Couple things in business, but yeah, I try to focus more on the feelings. What do you do when you visualize?
It just depends where I was at. For a while, I was visualizing success. What would success feel like? And packed classes and big speaking engagements and the podcast. Just different things. And now, honestly, man, I've really just been focused on what you shared a couple episodes ago about just making sure whoever I'm in front of right now feels like they're the most important person to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of my daily writing. And then, before I go to bed, I try to recount who all did I talk to today and was I present for them. And then the other challenge I got for myself, man, is honestly to see how much time or how little time I can spend on my phone. So like I try not to pick it up, because like a bad habit I would have, and I think a lot of us have, is you and I start talking, and there's like we're talking for a minute, and you say something, and I'm like, oh, like halfway through the conversation without even knowing it, you pick up your phone to see if you're missing anything else, and you put it back down. But like that's a complete disconnect, and that's a devalue of your time.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I'm like, if I came to you and every time I start talking to you, you pick up your phone, listen, and I'm gonna quit talking.
Yeah.
And I'm not coming back.
Yep.
So I've really been focused more on that. That quote you gave me, I think it was from your sales guy that he shared with you, has just been very hit home, especially with relationships taking on a different meaning through this time, is how many times that somebody gave me their time, they gave me their spirit and their energy, and I was half there, but I was really thinking about what was next.
Yeah.
And why do we do that so often? Like we get into a workout, and halfway through the workout that we have been wanting to do all day, we're like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over. But then when it's over, you're like, man, that was a good workout. You know what I mean? Like we constantly are looking to what's next when we're not enjoying what's here. So I think that's one of my big takeaways from this whole process we're going through is a country and humanity right now, is to really enjoy my moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. If you guys haven't listened to Be Here Now, go check that one out. The quote that Jared's talking about is, the most important person in the world is the person right in front of you.
Right.
And that put into practice.
Man, really, what if we actually did that? Right. What if when I actually went into a room, I was interested in meeting you and not just talking to you for a second, but to get to this person over here? And when your kids come home from school and they want a little bit of your time, you're not so worried about making sure they get to practice or filling their days with all these activities, but enjoying like small moments. And I just, and maybe it's part because my youngest is about to graduate high school and Andrea and I are going to be empty nesters, but just realize, man, those moments that's what you cherish.
Yeah.
And they're gone before you know it.
Yeah. And you never know how much it's going to impact someone's day. You never know. Like the other day I went to Lucky's, man, and I kind of felt like a celebrity because I had my mask on and these new braids, and then one of the ladies, she wasn't the cashier, but she was bagging the groceries. And she's one that I have conversations with, but I was talking to the cashier, and then I looked over at her, and I was like, hey, how you doing? She's like, I wasn't sure that was you with the new hair. And then another one of the cashier ladies come over, she's like, oh, that was him. How you doing? And comes and like pats me on the back, and next thing I know, it's like 3 of the Lucky's cashiers just surrounding me because every time I'm in there, I'm putting that into practice.
Dude, you're simply engaging humans and being nice.
That's it.
How hard is it?
It's easy. It's easy, man. What's been the best part of your day? It's all I do, man. Yeah. I was at Best Buy the other day picking up some headphones, and I asked that, and the guy was like, man, this right here, you being nice to me. No one's ever nice to the cashier.
Isn't that ridiculous?
And he's like, I really appreciate you asking me that. Like, this is the best part of my day. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
One small little sentence can brighten someone's day so much.
Well, I had a funny moment the other day. I was at a meeting, and the first employee I met with did a very good job, very nice. So then I had a meeting with his boss, and our meeting's done on the way out. I was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, the guy I met up front was phenomenal. He did a great job. So, make sure you pass along that. I really appreciate that. And then she's like, well, what did he look like? I was like, are you kidding me? She goes, why? I go, he had a mask up to here and a ball cap down to here. I don't know. He's a white guy. He had a black jacket on and a black hat. That's what I can tell you, and a mask.
Yeah.
But I just thought, like, how ironic that is, that you would ask me what he looks like, yet I purposely cannot see what he looks like. Mm-hmm. And I just chuckled. I was like, well, I hope it gets back to him because he did a really good job. But
right.
Yeah, so what did you take away from last week's episode about harnessing our power of fear?
It was good. And I loved it because I don't feel fear very often, and it's not because I'm so fearless or so brave, but I think just because I haven't been pushing myself hard enough to put myself in positions to feel that fear. So it was a really good reminder of like, hey, fear can be exciting. I mean, shit, we pay to go to haunted houses and watch scary movies and stuff, right?
Jump out of freaking airplanes.
Yeah, exactly.
Swim with sharks.
It can be exhilarating, and I kind of came back to that of like, okay, like this is exciting that I have a little bit of fear back in my life, and I definitely have experience in harnessing the power of fear. So I enjoyed that reflection, and I'm enjoying the opportunity to exercise some bravery and overcome some fear.
Yeah, courage. Yeah.
Yeah. No. How about you?
You know, fear is something that I've written about extensively. I speak about, especially like in law enforcement and business all over. So I'm probably hyper vigilant on fear, and I really pay attention, not for just what makes me afraid, but I really like looking at performance inhibitors, and is fear one of those things? And asking that question, like if you, especially in law enforcement, it's very easy, right? You go through a bunch of training, and then when it's time to put your training into practice, you just can't seem to do it. But like, I watched you train. I know you have the skills, but you just can't do it when it's for real. So what happened there? A lot of times it's the unwritten stuff, the stuff that doesn't come up on tests, the stuff that doesn't come up in evaluations, is you're afraid inside. And making sure we have those discussions, because a lot of people don't perform well, not because they don't know what they're doing, not because they don't know how to do it, not because they don't care to be really good, but they're just there's a fear that's inhibiting that performance. And once you get through that, once you unleash that fear, man, people really perform for you.
Yeah.
So I encourage you, if you get to supervise and lead people, don't assume it's a lack of knowledge. Don't assume a struggling employee is a lack of discipline or lack of care. A lot of times they may be afraid. And I did a presentation at a school district last year that was unbelievable for me, when I asked a roundabout question. I was like, okay, an employee came up and they're like, yeah, he is just a constant, like, we got to meddle him, get him going. And I was like, well, how long has he been here? And they're like, oh, like 25 years. I go, does he know his job? They're like, yeah. And I go, has he performed his job before? They're like, yeah. And I go, what changed? And literally, and this was like the superintendent level. They're like, oh, we hired a new boss for him, and we had an expectations meeting. And I was like, how'd that go? And he goes, well, he sat real quiet and then left. And I was like, okay, well, then what's next? He's like, well, literally, he walks around the building at least once a week asking if he's going to get fired that week. And I was like, well, why would he ask if he's going to get fired? How clear were your expectations? They're like, probably not clear. Right? So literally, here you have a grown-ass man that's been there for 20 years that walks around and asks the secretaries, hey, have you heard anything about me getting fired?
Jeez.
And what was that? He was however the expectations were presented, created fear in him. So instead of sitting there looking at him going, this guy's not doing his job, he's a subpar performer, like, bring him in and ask him, what are you afraid of, dude? What, like, somehow my presentation on your expectations, me being a new boss, is it because I'm younger than you? Whatever the case, created fear. He didn't suddenly lose his knowledge. He's been working good for 20 years. He didn't lose his drive to work good. He's just walking on eggshells because however that meeting went, you created fear in the man. But how many times do we ask somebody, what are they afraid of? Right? Like kids, we tell kids, hey, go out and do this. Go try that. Well, I don't want to try it. It's not because they don't really want to try it. It's because they're afraid. Well, what are you afraid of? Well, I might fall. You might. You fell before, you didn't die.
Yeah.
Well, if you fall, what do we do? Mom will put a Band-Aid on it for you. Let's go.
Right.
But
yeah, oftentimes simply just talking through your fears can really eradicate them.
And fear requires vulnerability. Right? Oh, I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm big macho. You're afraid of shit, dude. You're just not open to talk about it, which is cool, but it's not going to get you very far.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for our community to realize fears are very normal, and they're very powerful to harness them and use them to push you forward.
Yeah.
And it's not something we need to be embarrassed about or hide from.
Yeah.
Speaking of fear, though, we got to get into the current events.
Yes, we do.
What is what are we going to do, Mr. Ali? Are we going to vote or not to vote? That is the question.
To vote or not to vote? Well, I think we're going to have some disagreements on this episode. I think we're going to have some different feedback from our listeners. But, hey, this is what...
Dude, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to have
it's all
civil
about.
discourse and agree
Exactly.
to disagree. So I want to throw the first question at you.
Okay.
Is voting as a U.S. citizen a privilege and obligation or a complete waste of your time?
That's a great question. I mean, I'll have to say that compared to some other countries, right, it can be a privilege. In my opinion, just in my opinion, I believe it's a waste of my time. So
Why is that?
I don't vote.
You have never voted, huh?
I've never voted since I turned 18 years old. I remember so I went to school in Texas. It was a pretty red state, and it was the first vote that I could actually vote for was Obama and Bush, maybe?
God, that would have been 2008.
2008? Yeah, so that was right.
Fuck, you're young.
So Obama and Bush,
Jesus,
and I remember
dude.
Obama got elected, and a bunch
not
of
Obama, Bush, because Bush did 2 terms, so he was out.
Obama McCain.
Maybe.
I think it was Obama McCain.
Obama McCain and Obama Romney sounds like who he
Yeah.
ran against.
Yeah. Anyway, so Obama wins, and I remember all the kids at my school, or a lot of them, wore black to mourn the death of our country. It was like this dramatic thing. And I was like, what the fuck? You know,
Oh,
it was
really?
just like everything was split. Yeah, like some people were this, some people were that. Anyways, I think it's a waste of time because it's an institution. The way that our political parties are set up, and since I've started watching debates and how much money is put into these things, it's something I don't support. You know, I read an article in the New York Times today that said President Donald Trump campaign has raised $1.1 billion, and they've already spent $800 million of it. What, to market to me to get a vote? I've been getting all these damn text messages.
Yeah. Nuts.
All day, all this marketing when $1 billion could end world hunger. You know how many, and that's just Donald Trump. I don't know how much is in Biden's
Gotta be about equal.
campaign. You know, and this is every 4 years we're spending these billions of dollars just to market to convince these people. And whenever I watch them on TV, it's just like I'm like, what? It doesn't even seem real to me. And to this day, whether the president has been a Republican or Democrat has not had a significant impact on my life or in my business. I believe one day it will, and maybe I will vote then or have some lobbying then. But until then, I'd much rather put in my hours into familiarizing myself with knowledge that's applicable to me. Because I feel that who the president is so far removed from my day-to-day that it's a waste of time for me. Now, I know a lot of people feel different from that, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's many people that feel that way, and there's part of me that feels like if all of us don't vote, what message would that send to reshape the whole government? But that's not going to happen. So I feel like for me, I've voted in every election since I was 18. And partly because a lot of my family serves in the military. I served in the military, and then as a police officer, I do feel like it's my obligation to partake in the government. Or I can't complain about it, and I like to complain. You know what I mean? I like to be like, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? But I don't feel I've earned the right if I don't vote. And not necessarily at the presidential election or presidential level, because I know, like you said, there's $1 billion. I don't even know if it's legitimate anymore, right? I mean, there's a lot of concerns. But I do know that voting at the local level is extremely important, at least for me. Your school boards, because that controls what kind of curriculums your schools have, what kind of leadership they have, roads, your police services, your libraries. Like, so to me, voting for the president is every 4 years, and it's almost like ceremonial, maybe. Like, I don't know that it really makes a huge difference. I voted for Republican presidents. I voted for Obama once. I voted for Clinton once, not the second time for either of those dudes. And yeah, you're right. Like, I don't see a huge difference in who's in the White House, but I do think being informed locally has a major impact on your life, right? Your tax rates. Like, we have another ballot initiative for another tax rate in Colorado. And I'm here to tell you, man, my 10% tax in Fort Collins is too much. I was sitting down explaining this to my kids the other day. You realize you get paid, what's the minimum wage, like $12 an hour, $15 an hour? 25% off the top is tax. So what's that give you, like $11? Then you go to buy something in the city of Fort Collins, and a little over $1 of your 11 is another tax. Well, you just worked an hour for $15, and you really get about $9 of spending power. That's important shit for me.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I pay attention to, and that's the stuff where I think really if we could make a difference with our vote. I agree with you at the White House. I have no fucking idea what's going on between either party. And honestly, I don't like none of them. I think they're all fucking corrupt. Mm-hmm. But I do want to pay attention to what's going on here, right? You own property here. I want to know what my taxes are going to be. I'm going to vote down tax increases. And there's a huge, in Colorado right now, we have a big proposed change to how they calculate property taxes. Mm-hmm. That if we don't pay attention to and they switch it, our property taxes will go very high. And much like California, which is, I think, why we do have an obligation.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, though. It's easy to get swayed and be like, I'm not going to fucking vote because I don't like either of these guys in the White House. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but do you want more taxes right now? Mm-hmm. And so that's where I think that's where we, as an educated society, should shift our focus a little bit to not paying it. I'm not saying don't pay attention to the president because you could, if you enjoy that, but really like focus on the local stuff first. Because that's what will impact your day-to-day. You're absolutely right. The president, dude, they're there for 4 years and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So, if you live to be 82 years old, what are you going to have, 20 presidents? You're never going to meet any of them. Mm-hmm. But this local guy, that could play a role on you.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, man, to where I value my time so much to where I have learned, because I used to be pretty deep into it, and I found that it was more when I was in the corporate world, when I was always around people that were always talking about it.
Yeah.
I felt more compelled to learn a little bit more so I could be in on the conversation.
Let me stop you there. They were talking about it to learn a difference of opinion, or just talking about it around people that thought just the way they thought?
For the most part, just the way they thought.
Fuck it, that's the problem with politics. Nobody goes to a dude that's like, hey, dude, I saw you wore a Biden-Harris shirt. Tell me why you don't like Trump. Right? With their Trump hat on. Nobody does that. They only go, oh, Biden-Harris. I love Biden-Harris. Tell me more about Biden-Harris. What the fuck? Yeah. What'd you learn there? You already believed what they believe. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem with politics. It's so damn polarizing. Like, literally, families are split over the presidential election. Dude, what the fuck matter does it make? You still have Thanksgiving with your family. Or Christmas with your family. Mm-hmm. You're really not going to hang out with them because of somebody that lives in Washington? Come on now.
Yeah.
Go back to your story. But that's my point, right? Like, that's why we struggle.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in it, right? Well, and I started to see how much time would go towards that. Even if you, let's say you spend half an hour a day either talking about politics, reading articles about politics, or whatever. 7 days a week? That's 210 minutes a week. That's 420. That's 840 minutes a month times 12. That's so much time going to something that you have little to zero significant impact on at all. Okay, I honestly, I don't even know really to trust voting. Right now we got mail-in ballots. There's always been this conspiracy stuff around voting, even back in the Bush Gore election, right? Of like
The
miscounting
hanging
votes
Chad.
and all this stuff, to where it's like, okay, I understand, every vote matters. But it
does
doesn't
it?
matter that much to me to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours a year on politics when half of the information out there you can't really be sure of. You
But
don't know
don't you
what to
think
believe.
that's part of the very problem? Is that we have all this information that's written by fucking lawyers, and it's put on a ballot in a way that most people don't really understand, or they vote wrong on it.
Right.
Because no is actually yes and yes is no.
And there's
like Colorado's been in trouble for this a couple of times, where these lobby groups get an amendment on there, and people think that yes means I want it and no means I'm against it, but the way it's written, no means yes and yes means no.
They're trying to confuse you. You're not sure. And there's $1 billion in marketing behind that.
Yeah.
It's marketing. You're trying to persuade and influence me. You're not giving me just straight facts to read and make a decision. Why would I want to participate in this marketing
what happens
game
if we don't?
with all these smoke screens and signals?
What happens if we don't?
You're more productive in other areas of your life and you're going to excel. That's what I've been doing. I've been productive in my business, in my endeavors, and I have not, at least what I've seen, been impacted by who the president is.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't.
But what
let
about
it
the school
affect my
board?
day to day?
What about your school board? Are you impacted by them?
I guess not, because I don't have children.
I disagree. You get employees from the local school district. Do you want employees that are taught to think critically and evaluate things on their own merit, or just regurgitate what they're force-fed? See what I'm saying? Like, we are impacted. We may not feel it like right here, but you are. Like, these kids come from your school. Do you want a school district that teaches well-rounded curriculums of critical thinking, or one that forces a very one-sided view of the world? That's all that we vote on. That we vote on our school boards. We vote on the president of the school board. We vote on a lot of different things quite honestly, we don't pay attention to most time, but that do impact us.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're ever told that, right? We're told, vote for this president. This party's going to do that. None of them are going to do anything for you. Nobody's looking out for your best interest.
You know what I'm more concerned about voting on is what type of shopping cart are we going to use on our website, right? What type of SEO strategies are we? There's billions of things to vote on in your own life. What decision are you going to make? You have to vote. Am I waking up at 6 a.m.? Am I sleeping in? If we cared as much about every single vote that we have to make in our day-to-day life, then we would care far less about who the fucking president is, I will agree that I care way more about local and even state voting, right? I mean, my business is because of state legislation that has passed. Even though the cannabis industry is still federal illegal, my business thrives on the fact that states have chose to make independent decisions on their views on cannabis legislation, right? So local and
let's
state.
even talk about that.
Okay.
Cannabis legislation, the legalization of cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
passed overwhelmingly in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was like 80%, 75%. What were some of the caveats of that when they first passed it? Do you remember? One was that 20% of all the tax revenue went where? Schools.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and this is one thing I do pay attention to, because I was the SRO when marijuana was legalized, and we saw a huge push into the schools, and not a push, but like kids now could freely get it from their parents, and we saw a huge uptick in kids coming to school high, marijuana on the campus. Like, I probably spent a year nonstop just dealing with nothing but marijuana stuff. But I voted for it. As somebody that doesn't consume marijuana, doesn't particularly find it beneficial, I voted for it because I was like, okay, if it's been around forever and kids when I grew up, we were sneaking it. They're still sneaking it. Let's legalize it. Let's tax it. If 20% of money is going to go to schools, that's probably a pretty good thing. Yet here we are, what are we, 12 years into this, 10 years into this? I still don't know one school that's gotten money from marijuana. As far as I know, maybe I'm wrong, 10 years into the marijuana stuff, I still don't know where all that tax money that was promised for the schools is. I've heard different stories that it's actually not able to go to schools because it is federally illegal. And because schools get federal funding, they're not allowed to accept it. And I don't know that that's 100% true. I haven't done a ton of research. But I do know, like, as a voter, I was told it was going to do this. So I vote for it. And now as an end user, I don't see it. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you do that kind of stuff to voters, you disenfranchise them. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you guys told me this. I voted for it. I supported it. But I don't see it.
Yeah.
Follow through. You know what I mean? And
that's been the story.
It is. How many times do we get tricked?
All the time.
Yeah. So, but is apathy, not partaking, like choosing not to participate?
I don't think that's apathetic. I think choosing not to participate sends a strong message of like, this $1.1 billion that you're spending to try and influence me, I don't give a shit about.
But do more people fucking vote for America's Got Talent or whatever the show is now that you vote, than vote for in any of our elections?
Yeah.
What does that say about our society? We are more concerned about voting about who the best singer on a reality TV show is that quite honestly might not be real either. Than we are for who's going to lead our government or who's going to lead our local government.
Yeah.
When does society decline, right? When do societies decay? To me, if you look back in history, a lot of times it's when the citizens quit taking part. Right? If you have a very active civilization, a very active populace, it's hard for one leader or another to take over and become a dictator. Maybe a bunch of people are like, fuck, I ain't paying attention. Easier.
Yeah, but I think that we do have a very active population, right? We're just choosing not to be as active in government. I think that the role of government is less and less and less necessary.
But it can't be if you don't vote it, because you literally have you have one presidential candidate that is very much, government has a huge role in your life, right? People are talking about a basic income, government-sponsored health care, like all that's government. So if you don't think government should be a big role in your life, then you kind of have to vote. Otherwise, government is going to, and I think that's that checks and balance piece, right? Like, we get to say how big a role you have, and our only say is by voting. If we choose not to vote, then everybody else picks for us. And I don't know. I think that's the hard part, right? Like, you don't vote and you go about your day, you see a tangible result. I give up a little bit of my time to research some stuff and vote. It may not go my way. And then I go, well, fuck, that was a waste of my time. I should have known what Ali was doing. You know what I mean? So I'm torn on it. But for me, I just go back to the fact that I know what separates our country from many other countries around the world is that I at least have my say. I can go out and protest. I have freedom of speech. I can go worship how I want to worship. And I get the right to vote. And now, do I do it to my maximum? No, because I should be organizing more, right? Admittedly, I should probably be doing more to organize community to either vote in certain people or try to vote out, or at least raise awareness around issues. But I don't. So I'm not that active, but I do when my ballot comes in the mail, and I've mail-in voted for years just because I don't like to go stand in line. I have pride in that. You know what I mean? Like I look at that like, okay, I need to do this. I need to stop for a minute, read these different amendments because somebody's family somewhere died for me to just have this basic right. And is it an inconvenience at times? Sure. Do I know everything about everything? No. But that's kind of my default on that. And I don't, when I sit and think about, does this really make a difference? It could be discouraging for sure. But when I think about, like, why is our country different than most countries? And, you talked about your family coming over from the Middle East. And there's a lot of countries over there that citizens wish they had an opportunity to pick who leads them. So that's why I vote.
I mean, do we have an opportunity to pick, though? We got two guys.
Two guys that don't represent
two guys
any
to
of
pick
us.
from.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't get to decide what guys to pick from, right? We get
true.
presented two guys, and it's like, pick one of these. To me, that's not choice. That's not really getting an opportunity to vote.
How many presidential candidates are on our ballot? Do you know? Fucking Colorado, we had like 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we had other dudes who could pick. They just don't have a chance. I understand what you're saying. They don't have a chance.
I know Kanye West is on there.
Could he be worse? Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe he could be worse. I don't know. I understand, dude. And here's what I will say. To me, I appreciate you not voting. I respect your decision not to vote. And that's okay too. Right? And maybe that means my vote is more important because certain people aren't going to vote. But we got to get to a point where we can agree to disagree, or we can civilly discuss things, and not what we're being shown by these two guys that are running for president now, where they can't even be in the same room. Like that's embarrassing.
Yeah. And neither of them really stand for what I believe in and the type of person that I want to become. And the whole political party doesn't either. No. You know, that I stand for what you just said. Civil conversations, agreeing to disagree, love, unity, all these things, to where unfortunately our leaders today don't really stand for that, right? I forgot where I read this, but it was something about like the measure of a nation's progress is where their spirituality is at. And I feel like America has just gotten less and less spiritual as I've grown up. We're so industrial, we're so political, we're so deep into these things that at the end of your life, they don't matter at all. They really don't matter. Yeah, maybe you can argue like the legacy that you're going to leave, but the things that matter are the little things that we really talk about, the person in front of you being the most important person in the world, connection, community, purpose. And I mean, we're over here spending $1 billion per candidate when we could end world hunger. We could end so much suffering around these things, yet we're putting so much care and passion and anger and so much emotion and energy into these elections.
Yeah.
To where it's like, I almost kind of resent them, to be honest. To where I'm like,
so you kind of don't vote out of protest.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, none of you guys represent me, so I'm not voting for anybody. And I get that. Like, I thought about doing that as well, but then when I read the ballot and I see all the local stuff, I'm like, no, dude, I don't want you taking no more tax money. Like, I gotta nip this tax stuff I gotta cut it off.
Yeah, and I get that, and I'll say that is something that I would like to learn more about, that I just don't put time into is local legislation. There's people out here in Fort Collins always like, hey, will you sign this position? And I'm always like, I'm not read up on that.
Yeah.
And it's simply just because at this stage in my life, as a young entrepreneur and business owner, I don't want to give any of my time to anything else. I'm like, dude, I'm maxed out. I'm putting time into the podcast. I'm putting time into stuff that I enjoy, my MMA training. I was doing piano for the first 6 months. That fell off, That my only little extracurricular activities, and then it's like, boom, I'm learning everything else, website analytics, how to run an e-commerce business, distribution, dealing with China, like all these other things, to where it's like, I don't want to give you even an hour a week of my time reading about fucking Donald Trump or Joe Biden. I don't want to dedicate anything to that. But there will be a time, I know, to where I'll make that transition and it will impact me more, and I'll be in these higher tax brackets to where it is going to impact me more significantly. And then who knows, maybe I will. But in my experience, where I'm at, for me, it's I have more valuable things to put my time into, in my opinion. But again, I respect any differing opinions, and know that a lot of people are very passionate about it, and I respect that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't disagree with you. I just think it's at times, for supposedly the greatest country on earth, it's embarrassing to me where we're at right now, that these, if we go back to the presidential stuff, that these two are who I get to choose from. It's embarrassing to me. Out of how many millions of people, America has like 300 million people or something. Well, two better people than these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I got two 70-something-year-old white dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong. Like, I'm not against 70-something-year-old people or white dudes. But there's nobody with better ideas than these two guys. But you're right, man. What's it come down to? Money. And sadly, that's where we're at. But for me, I already mailed my little ballot in. I know Trey voted. This is his first election that he got to vote. And we'll see how it turns out. But if for me, I go back to I can't complain if I don't participate.
Yeah.
And I like having an ability to question things. And not that you can't, but.
And that's another point, too. You won't hear me complaining.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about who the fucking president is.
Yeah.
And the day I do, you can tell me to shut the fuck up because I didn't vote.
Start voting.
Yeah. Yeah, but you will not hear me complain, not a damn day.
You know what I'm excited about?
The president. What's that?
Getting this fucking election over with.
Me too.
Although I'm not sure it's going to be over because they're all fucking talking about all the other recourse. But community, you guys decide what's right for you. But I think that's the important thing that comes out of this message for me is you decide. Don't do anything or not do something because it's what other people do. I'm not going to go vote because everybody else says they vote. I'm not going to not vote because people tell me not to vote. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure out there. There is a lot of pressure in communities to vote one way or another.
Yeah, it's so weird. Our whole process is weird, if you ask me. Like driving down the street and you get dudes standing on the corner with a sign. I'm like, I've never voted for anybody because I saw your sign on the corner. Or the text messages, honestly, those text messages, I'm almost going to vote against you for text messaging me.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. What do you think? A little bit of practice for people?
Yeah. So purposeful practice, reflect on where do you stand on voting rights? Part 2, do you believe your vote makes a difference? And part 3, email your practice to us at onpurpose.official@gmail.com. And again, guys, that's a beautiful thing about living in this country, right? Is you have the freedom to vote. So whether or not you vote, that's up to you. There's no right or wrong answer. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are. As you saw, Jared and I have some differing thoughts on this one, and that's okay. To each his own. So let us know.
Yeah, and not only that, but we have the freedom to get together and talk poorly about both candidates for president.
Yeah.
Not many countries you can do that.
Right. Get killed.
People have disappeared.
Yeah.
All right, so Ollie, don't go disappearing on me.
Right.
All right, and remember, team, if you want to go deeper with the podcast, join us on Patreon. We are always looking to add more members there to support us and help us continue to grow this on-purpose community. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.